Alright guys, here we are. Today we're going to be going over how to make subsonic 223s. Stay tuned. Alright everybody, welcome to my shed, my work shed. This is where I do all of my reloading. I made that video with the Subsonic 223. Very impractical, I know. But I had a few people asking how I made it, what my recipe is, whether I use a filler or not. So I figured I'd make a little walkthrough video of how exactly I do that, what my recipe is, and so if anybody at home wants to do it themselves, they're more than welcome to. When I first got into reloading about a year ago, I had some people, friends, family maybe say you shouldn't reload 223, it's so cheap, you don't save any money, and that's true. I was probably only saving 2 or 3 cents per round, but now that it's the middle of the pandemic, I am saving probably 50 cents a round. You'd be pretty hard pressed to find 223 for cheaper than 75 cents where I am right now. So that's a big thing. So I don't use this normally for subsonic rounds. Normally I'm loading with something like H4198s to do my regular rounds, or I'll use that clean 223 powder. That stuff's really great too. But for this one, I'm using Trail Boss, Hodgins Trail Boss. Really great because it's a little bit fluffier. So traditionally, I think this is used for like action shooting, like cowboy action shooting, or reloading like revolvers or older stuff. It's a little bit fluffier, and it's like a disc. It's a disc shape as opposed to a pellet, which means that it will fill that case with more volume but less weight. I'm not sure which is more accurate in terms of actual power, if it's the weight you need to be the same or if it's the volume that you need. I go by weight, so if any of you guys know, please let me know, but we'll get right into it. So first thing you'll need is some clean brass. I have a whole tray here that just came out of the oven. I'll do some overlay footage here of that coming out. I wash it in a 3-pound Harbor Freight tumbler. I fill it with some stainless steel tumbling media, hot water, dish soap, that's it, and I clean it out. You'll have to also trim these. I'll also overlay some footage of me trimming these to length. There's a tool you can get it basically anywhere. I got mine on Amazon. You could set it to a length, and then you can trim these to the same length every time. So that's really important if you are new to reloading, or maybe new to reloading neck down or non-straight wall brass. That's really important that you are trimming your brass, especially with 223. If you have a casing that's too long and you put it through a press, you can damage your brass obviously, but also damage your press, and so that's something that's really important to do. Make sure you have clean brass. Don't just put dirty brass through your press. Again, you're not only going to ruin your brass, but you'll ruin your dies. It'll start to accumulate some grunge, dirt, dust, little particles in there, scratch your dies, make those become inconsistent. So make sure that you are using clean brass, clean dies, and you have everything ready to go. The next thing that you'll need, obviously, is the projectile. So this is 55 grain. Hopefully you can see that all right. 55 grain, and this is just some bulk cheap stuff that I got from my local place, Gunny's it's called. And you'll need that. I use 55 grain. I know some people use some heavier projectiles, because that way you can put a little bit more powder behind it. You get some more energy out of your rounds, but I don't worry about that. Another thing you'll need, obviously, small rifle primers. I use CCI just because they were the cheapest ones at my store, so that's great. And then I have a little digital scale here. Again, I have this multi-stage press, which right now it's loaded with this H4198 powder. So I'm not going to be using that as my powder, but instead I'll measure out each one individually and make sure that I'm getting the same weight in every cartridge. So I'll just jump into it. I'll skip a few steps and show you guys kind of how I do that. Okay, so I use my multi-stage press. I'm gonna do it one at a time just so you guys can see how this works. But it goes into the first stage here, and I'm going to take it out after this first stage. This first stage only deprimes the case. So there we have it, deprimed. So I'll just put these in one at a time, again, just so you can see, and because I don't want to prime them quite yet, because I want to trim them after I deprime them. So I'm going to put this up, push that in, and again, deprimed. Should probably show you right before. There we go. We have a used case. Put it in. Oh. And bring it down. And again, when I'm doing bulk, what I'll do is I'll put them in these tubes right here, and they'll kind of auto feed in there. But for the sake of the video, just so I can show you one at a time how it works, pretty cool. So it doesn't matter if they're, you know, the crimped 556 or whatever, the depriming should take it out no problem. And there we go, deprimed, cleaned, ready to be trimmed. And then we'll prime them, fill them with powder, and put the projectile in. Okay, so here's that tool I was talking about. It's a little case holder. When you screw this down, it will grab onto the bottom of the case. And then this is a pin that is, you screw this part into the handle, and it will, you know, the further you screw it in, the shorter your case will be. So just a quick demonstration of how that works is you put this in there. You twist it, and this could just go on any power drill, any cordless drill or cord drill, whatever you want. Put this in, and then you twist it, and some shavings come off the top. So this gives me exactly what I want. I trim mine to 1.749 inches. So if you have some calipers, you can measure those out and get it going exactly how you like it. I'll do that one more time so everyone can see, kind of cool. I know there are those stations that have the deburrer, the trimmer, and all of that in one. I'm not that rich, so I don't have that. So this one, you'll see, didn't actually trim any off. That's because it's already shorter than that. I'm not a precision shooter, especially with Subsonic 223s, so I'm not going to worry about having them all exactly the same length, as long as they're shorter than that length. Oh, then I'm good to go. But pretty neat, so there you go, freshly trimmed. Okay, after you have them all trimmed to the right length, the 556/223 is a pretty unique case in the fact that some of them, as you'll see right here, have that crimp around the primer pocket. If you try to prime this round with that crimp on there, the primer is going to get squished, maybe it won't get seated completely. So what you'll have to do is either, you know, there's special tools online. I just used this drill bit that seems to work great. I think it's it's like a 1/2 inch, just concrete drill bit. And then what I'll do is I'll just put it right in there. And you'll see that burr is gone. That's probably pretty extreme. I went a little bit too hard on that one, but you want to make sure that that crimp is removed, and so this is smooth. Yeah, that's probably going to open up your primer pocket a little bit more than usual. If I had a specialized tool, I'd do it the right way. This one's probably a little bit too much. I'll probably throw that one away. But you get the idea. You want that crimp to be gone on all of your cases. Now that I have deprimed, cleared that crimp out, and resized or trimmed this case, I should also mention in my press, when I deprime it, it also resizes it to the right shape, so that should be good to go. What I'll do now is I will put new primers in and then I will measure Trail Boss by hand on this little electric scale here. I put 3.4 grains of Trail Boss in each of these, and then once it has the primer and the powder in there measured by hand, I'll put this in here like that, just to kind of keep it, keep a little cap on it, and then I will seat that in my press. And that should be a finished product. I'll go through and do all of that right now. Here's that priming process. So I have a case in there. If you watch closely, as it comes around, you'll see this little tray of primers will come into the area directly underneath this case as it rotates. And then if I just push it down, it primes it. Now, normally I would continue upward again and it would charge the case with the powder that is in the dispenser above it. But since I'm doing subsonics, you'll see, there it is, primed. I'm gonna take it out and then fill these by hand. So I'll do another one just so you can see that. I'm only doing a few just for the sake of the video. I don't wanna sit here and, drop that one. Sit here and do this all day for a video. So it'll come around, you'll see those primers just slid down as it passes. It's directly underneath this case now, and then I line it up, you push it in, and that's it. And then normally you come up and charge it, but I won't, because I'm gonna take it out and fill it with hydrogens. This is what 3.4 grains of Trail Boss looks like. As you can see, that is pretty voluminous. So I'll go ahead and use a little funnel and put that into these cases that have been primed now. So they're all ready to go. I'll skip that part because it's pretty boring. It's just putting these in, and then I'll seat those projectiles and we'll be good to go. Okay, so those are all filled up now. You'll notice I've just put these in by hand and they're kind of crooked at the top. That doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and seat them anyways, and they'll straighten out. I just put them in like that, so if they tip over like it just did, that I don't spill out all the powder. So I'll take these over to the press and seat those bullets in there, and we'll have a finished product. Okay, here we are at the press. All I'm gonna do is just snap this in. Again, just doing this by hand, because one, for the video, and two, because it's subsonics, but it goes up into that die. I push it out like that. I'm gonna catch this because I actually don't have my bucket here, but this comes out a fully formed bullet. There's lots of settings, obviously, and configurations for your die or your press that I'm not gonna go into. This is just my recipe. There you go. That is a Subsonic 223 right there. So these cost me very little. They probably cost me about 20 cents a round right now, so I'll do another one here. I'll put this in. Maybe 25 cents a round, but as it goes up, it goes into that die, gets seated, comes back down, and there we go. Very cool. But yeah, so these cost me about $1 to make, which is pretty good, especially considering you have a hard time finding Subsonic 223 online anyways, let alone any 223. So, and again, this isn't precision reloading, so everyone out there saying, oh, you missed this step, you missed that step, you're gonna have inconsistent ammo. I don't really care. I'm not doing precision shooting with Subsonics. This is just to go out and have some fun with the suppressor, show the friends, be like, hey, look how quiet this thing is. All you can hear is the firing pin drop. That's all this is for. I'm not even shooting small game with this. I'm not even doing squirrels or anything. It's really just to go out and have some fun. So obviously there's some steps that I missed that I purposefully didn't include, like how I, my lubrication of the brass before I put it into the press. I didn't go into that. I didn't go into cleaning the inside of the brass. I didn't do any of that. And you'll notice this brass is actually kind of dirty because this is the bad brass that I use. The stuff that's kind of towards the end of its life cycle, I repurpose for Subsonics. And this is the last one in the batch. Put it in here. So yeah, don't give me grief in the comments saying, oh, you missed that, you missed the other, or whatever. I don't really care, especially for subsonics. I can go into my process for actually reloading and getting some really consistent and accurate bullets made. But I'm not going to do that today. Maybe another time if you guys want to. But there you go. A little mini batch of some Subsonic 223.